So there's a lot of things that you probably take into consideration when you're choosing a carry gun for defense, right? Like just across the board, whether you're buying a brand new gun or choosing from, guns that you may already have in your collection, whatever it is, right? Like, revolver versus semi-auto, if it's semi-auto, manual safety, no safety, striker fired versus hammer fired. There's a lot of things. And then there's just overall like quality, right? Which maybe you determine that based on the brand. Maybe you determine that based on whether or not it's a firearm that's been carried by the military or the police and has a track record as a good, reliable gun. Like there's a lot of things that you base that decision on, what you're willing to essentially stake your life on in the event that there actually is a really dangerous situation where you have to protect yourself and your others in defense, right? But one thing, since I can remember, going back to when I first got into guns back in the mid 90s, give or take, that has continually come up has been the debate between caliber and capacity. And I think it is one of the most important things to take into consideration. Obviously, the most important thing is whether or not you're proficient with your chosen firearm, right? But outside of that, I think the idea, one of the main things you can make a decision on when you're choosing what gun to take out into the world with you as a defensive tool is, do you lean towards capacity or do you lean towards caliber, i.e. a larger caliber, something with more power, that kind of thing. Now, obviously there's some nuance to all this because, maybe you're willing to carry a huge gun that, has the most amount of capacity possible with the largest round you can think of to carry. And you get the quote unquote best of both worlds, right? So there is nuance to this, but, let's just talk about, like, let's say you're choosing between two guns of the same size, right? Whatever that may be, subcompact, compact, full size, whatever it is. And one has a bigger caliber and the other has more capacity, right? And that's the size and type of gun you want. So you're down to that one decision. Which should you choose? Well, there's a few things that I think you should take into consideration that have led me to where I am with this decision. And this is a decision I made 20 plus years ago, partially based on research that I did, partially based on a class that I remember taking probably around like 2006 or something like that. I can't remember exactly when it was, long before I started doing YouTube. And based on some other people that I've talked to that have specific knowledge about this. And the one thing that a lot of people who, let's say, lean towards caliber love to talk about is that one-stop shot, right? Like if I've got a bigger caliber, whatever it is, 357, 40, 44 Magnum, 45, whatever, and I hit them right there in the right spot, I'm going to drop them with one shot. And that is something that factually does happen. There is actual evidence of this. But the thing that there's actually more evidence of is that more often than not, people are not stopped with one shot. By far, you can go to, hospital statistics, CDC statistics. I believe the FBI has some statistics on this as well, as far as like how many shots actually kill a person. And something that also isn't taken into consideration a lot in some of these statistics, but if you actually do some research into, let's say, some of those hospital statistics, one thing you'll find is that a lot of times people who are shot once, twice, sometimes even 3 times, they continued to do whatever it was they were doing for a long enough period of time after they were shot, and then still had time to make it to a hospital before something potentially catastrophic happened to them, that 1, 2, or 3 shots would not have stopped them in the moment. Now, yes, maybe they succumbed to those injuries later on, but they did not stop immediately. And a lot of that has to do with the stress of a situation and maybe not being able to actually put rounds exactly where you want on target in a defensive situation, and all kinds of other things that play into that. And, you know, in an active situation where you're trying to defend yourself and you're moving and they're moving, and there's 1,000 reasons why you can't get that quote unquote one-stop shot. But you know what you can do that can potentially speed up the process of stopping a bad person from doing a horrible, heinous, bad thing, that will help to quicken that physical stop. And that is putting more holes in tissue. And that sounds awful and kind of macabre and all that kind of stuff, but it's absolutely true. More tissue damage, more blood loss. The quicker you can cause more of that damage to somebody who is doing something awful that you need to stop, the quicker you will stop them. Because you cannot guarantee in a stressful situation that just because you have a bigger bullet, you're going to be able to hit that one right spot to stop them immediately. But one thing you can do, one decision you can make when choosing a firearm, is to have the maximum amount of capacity possible to put essentially the most amount of holes in a person as quickly as possible, to again cause as much blood loss and as much tissue damage as humanly possible in as short a period of time as you possibly can, to force that stop to happen, to force that person to stop whatever it is they are doing. Blood loss leads to the rest of your body stopping its functions. Okay, more tissue damage leads to your body stopping its functions. Something you cannot guarantee with one shot, or even 2, or even 3, as statistics have shown us. But continuing to put holes in a person and causing tissue damage and causing blood loss has a higher likelihood, statistically speaking, of stopping somebody quicker than shooting somebody once, twice, or 3 times and hoping you hit the right place to stop them immediately. So as far as I'm concerned, within reason, you should always favor capacity over caliber. And what do I mean by within reason? Well, what I mean is within reason of like calibers that are suitable for defense. I would say 9mm and up. If your choices are between a 9mm and a 40, I am going to lean towards 9mm, especially with modern ammunition, because I'm going to get at least a couple of extra rounds that I can use to hopefully, potentially stop a bad guy from doing a bad thing in an extreme situation. If it's between 40 and 45, same thing. I'm going to lean towards 40. Whatever it may be, I'm going to lean towards, again, within reason, I'm going to lean towards the caliber that's going to give me more capacity, because I want to give myself the, statistically speaking, highest likelihood of being able to stop a threat in a defensive situation as I can possibly have. And again, regardless of what statistics you look at, more rounds on target, more blood loss, quicker tissue damage is always going to lead to that stopping of the threat quicker than 1 shot, 2 shots, even 3 shots, and hoping and praying that that was enough to stop the threat.